Doc, what's up, man?
Nothing, man.
I tend to disagree with you because we got what they call the NBA playoffs going on, man. That's a lot, man.
Well, that's something.
So
that's
welcome.
Definitely what's up.
Excuse me for stepping on you. Welcome back to the Doc and GM show.
Yeah, man.
I am GM. I'm with my boy Doc. We had a couple of weeks where both of us were. I think what you were in the Andes, I was in the Rockies, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Last weekend, so we couldn't orchestrate it so that we did a show. So we missed the first weekend of the playoffs, but we're here as promised to break down the NBA playoffs for you. A lot went on, my man.
Yes.
Your
action is fantastic.
Your thoughts in a nutshell before we break down each game and each series.
Thoughts in a nutshell is it is what we thought it was. A lot of unpredictable stuff. We got 2 Game 7s coming up, so that's exciting in and of itself.
One in a couple minutes. That would be Milwaukee and Boston.
Right. So just excitement all around. Like, I love the playoffs, man. I think that's the best time of year for hoops, really. The rest of it is good entertainment, and I love it all. But playoffs is where it's at.
All right, so before we dive into, again, each particular series we'll break down, tell the people where they can find us.
They can find us at Doc and GM NBA Recap on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel, follow us, get a friend, tell that friend to follow us, and send us some messages.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, as I always say, critique us. If you like what you hear, give us a comment. If you think we suck, same thing. Let us know. We'll disagree with you, but we want to hear that though. But with that said, I'm just because I'm looking at it, I don't mind. If you don't mind, I should say, can we start out west?
Yeah, let's start.
Okay, we'll start out west. So I think you mentioned we felt it was unpredictable. I know that's how I felt.
Right.
There were certain things that you thought you could bank on, but then I was even skeptical about those. Right. And one of those we'll go with was the Golden State San Antonio.
Right.
Number 1, number 8. Excuse me, that's number 2, number 7, I should say. I figured in my head Golden State would take care of them, but then there were question marks. Could Kawhi play tonight? Right. In the series? We didn't know, but we found out quickly that wasn't going to happen. Yeah, and then we found out, and then Pop, they had, R.I.P. for his wife, unfortunately passing of his wife during the playoff series. But they definitely proved no match for Golden State, correct?
Correct, not even a little bit.
Well, they gave him that one game,
that's
okay. They kind of maybe even gave him that game.
I mean,
because they were,
boy, what were they up 3-0?
Yeah,
and I beating up on the same team at that point.
And I saw them at the press conference, and they were on some, it's just an L. And they were kind of chuckling and smiling, not chuckling, but
they felt good.
Little resistance. Okay, so we figured that.
Right.
One, I figured
I
was.
I thought it'd be tougher.
Maybe.
I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But.
So especially without Steph, maybe you thought
right. That's what
a little tougher, but it wasn't tough at all.
With Pop's situation too. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads me to the next series was 3-6. I started out with 2-7,
right.
Which was the Portland New Orleans series.
Man,
everyone saw that sweep coming, right?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think anyone saw that sweep coming.
I'm
being sarcastic.
Man,
no,
I hope so.
No one had that. No one had that.
I think I predicted a hard-fought series. I really didn't think that it would just get egged like that. Like, I'm kind of hurt by it, really.
Well, that's because you like those guys. We like those guys. I like them.
I do, but I like New Orleans too.
Right. And so I guess you were just surprised. And
well, I guess for me, because I did have Dame in the MVP conversation. Like for me, it was obviously Harden is high. He'll probably win it.
Yeah.
But I think what Dame did towards the end of the season to get Portland to that number 3 spot, and I think what Anthony Davis did with New Orleans after Boogie Cousins went down to keep them relevant in the West was MVP like.
Sure.
Both of them put up some crazy games to kind of will their teams there.
Right.
So for one, I thought it was gonna be good because I thought both of them were MVP caliber type.
Sure.
So then
they were.
One of them absolutely beasted and was 100% that MVP type player, and Anthony Davis. Dame Dollar
was a regular NBA player.
Man, he was average.
If that.
Average Dame.
Man. I got you. And see now you text me. What's the correct word on this? Is it text or texted? Whatever. Yeah. So you shot me a text, and you asked how did that happen?
Right.
And then I gave you some things that we talked about on this podcast. A couple of was the addition of Nico.
Right.
And not only just the addition of Nico, like Nico was somebody, but when they acquired Nico was playing lights out.
Yeah, he pretty much played lights out all season.
And he continued that.
Yeah.
And then, there also is a thing called playoff Rondo. I text that back.
Playoff Rondo.
Now, with that said, if you look at the numbers, Rondo is on a 6-0 playoff winning streak. He won 2 with the Bulls last year, handily Boston.
Yeah.
Before he injured his hand,
right.
Couldn't get back in the series,
right.
And they lost 4 in a row,
right.
And busted up everything. And
yeah,
I'm a Philly fan now. but with that
messed
said,
up his hand, and now
right.
You're a Philly fan,
right? And so then he went to New Orleans, and a good season, regular season. Again, when they say, I think that was my term, where because people would always say, "Oh, the regular season doesn't mean anything." Well, that's a lot, because it gives me something to do November and December and January. It gives me a lot to do. But does it mean anything towards who's going to win the NBA Finals? Little, if any, especially on a nightly basis.
On a nightly basis, yeah.
Right. So, but as we talked, playoff Rondo's a thing. You got Drew Holiday playing out his head, back to an all-star level, right?
Yeah, he's former all-star.
And then, Portland, basically, needless to say, Captain Obvious is saying, wasn't ready.
They were ready.
For all of that.
Crazy.
Right?
I mean, they gave Golden State more resistance last year.
Right.
I mean,
and this year they had their big man.
So right,
which they lost early. I think he played 1 game last year, or something like that. But he didn't not much. So that was a shocker. So that they swept him.
Right.
The fact that they beat them, I don't think was a shock. To me, wasn't a shock. But the fact that they swept them, yeah, I'd say that was a shock.
So let's talk about this Golden State Pelican matchup then.
Well, hold on. Let's finish first round before we get in the second round.
Okay.
All right, if you don't mind.
That's cool.
Okay, so then the other matchup was another quite disappointing situation with Utah and OKC. Only because you have established names in OKC,
right,
versus non-established names, right. Especially as it comes to playoff potential. Now,
right.
Gobert is a name. If you're an NBA fan, you know who Rudy is.
Right.
But you know a lot of that. He's a good player, but sometimes he's hurt.
Often injured.
You also know Ricky Rubio's status.
Right.
Serviceable point guard.
Right.
Stop there.
Great. Phenom, who's just average now.
Well, to me, right now, he's
teenage phenom.
Back then.
Yeah.
Right. Come from Spain.
Yeah.
Right.
Then.
But that's not. None of that cachet is playoff cachet.
Nah.
Meanwhile, Oklahoma City had. They were in the finals. Yeah. They were in the conference finals.
Yeah.
Paul George has been in the conference finals.
They have MVP.
An MVP.
Mr. Triple Double.
Was Melo a scoring title winner one year?
Maybe.
If not, he was up there with them.
He can score.
So, established names versus non-established
right.
names, and the non-established names mopped up the floor with him.
Just took it to him.
Mopped up the floor with him, bro. I didn't understand what Westbrook was doing. His no-show absence. Paul George, who self-titled himself Playoff P, prior to the playoff series.
He laid the egg.
I won't say he laid the egg because he had a good game 7. Yeah,
Excuse me, 6.
Yeah. So you text today. What do they do? No. What was your text to me today? What do I expect from them?
Where do they go from here?
Oh yeah, let's see. You said, "What do the Thunder do now?" Is what you asked. And I said after my answer was one thing is Melo is owed is guaranteed $28 million next year. So I say struggle.
Well, they're gonna do something. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the offseason.
They do have an active GM that's not afraid to do things.
He'll make some moves. So, and I guess the Paul George piece of the puzzle is huge because if he leaves, that changes what they do. So, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. So then, Houston, Minnesota.
Yep.
That was 1-8. It went as a typical 1-8 goes for the one seed,
right?
But it didn't go, in my opinion, as typical as one might have thought. Houston, Minnesota at the beginning of the season, right or no?
You don't think it would have went?
So here's what I'm saying: a typical 1-8, one wins all the time. Right. And so that was expected.
Sure.
But if at the beginning of the season, not when Houston ended up being one, and not when Minnesota, just on paper,
right?
I wouldn't have thought that team would have just handily.
Agreed.
That's my point. That's what I'm asking.
Gotcha. No, I agree 100%.
So it went
you just look at the pieces,
right?
You say Minnesota's got a solid squad.
Right. Before it was 1-8.
Right.
It was 1-8.
Right.
Even after
as it's 1-8.
Right.
Like they're
Yes.
solid.
Yes.
This shouldn't be a 5 game. I think I said I felt it might easily be 6, maybe 7 but it is also what we thought. Cat and Wiggins aren't quite.
Yeah,
they're not quite. I mean, big paws on puppies, man.
They're
very talented.
Yeah.
But they just got to grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
Wiggins especially.
And I still say Tibbs has some of the burden of that situation.
Absolutely.
In that maybe if Jimmy's not as burnt out and broken down, which Tibbs later commented led to the ineffectiveness of their team in that series. Jimmy Butler's knee injury. But so yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, Cat. I mean, there was one game he scored 5 or 9, and if you're trying to,
guys,
it seems like they were just happy. Seems like they were just happy to have made the playoffs in that 16-year span.
It's been a while, so I understand that.
Yeah, that was victory number 1. So maybe they'll pull it together. D Rose played well in that one win that they had. Don't know what that means going forward.
Derrick Rose.
I'm sorry.
The ghost of Derrick Rose.
Well, you never know. You never know because you never know. That's all I'll say. Sure. Teague did not have a good series.
Nah, he played well in spurts.
So we'll see how that plays forward going forward. All right then. So now we're into you asked earlier.
Ding, 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 round
2.
2.
Well, there you go. Yes, sir. Towel off, and you got some instructions, got a little rest. Golden State, New Orleans. You asked about that. You wanted to ask about that. What did you have something specific to say? Did you want to ask a question? What?
Man, Golden State, New Orleans. What do you think about that? Because I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, that's what I was getting. Well, my answer would have been mouth-watering. So that's the same thing. That Pavlov dog. We're looking forward to that. Yes. So they definitely hit me in the knee and rang the bell, and my mouth is watering on this one. Only because you have they're the best team in the league because they have the title, right?
Right.
So until someone takes the title from them, I consider them the best team. Right. And then, as you mentioned, with the did you mention the Brow as a potential MVP candidate early in this conversation? Right, that's what I'm talking about. So they still have him.
They still have him.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, KD is one himself. KD had, they say statistically, a better year this year than he had when he won the MVP.
Right.
So,
he's a beast.
And then, he's 7 foot.
Yes,
That kind of, quote unquote, plays out of position. And now that's not so much the case because we're almost positionless now.
Yeah, it's just about there.
But when KD started, that's when that trend started. Because KD's been around for a little bit, 7, 8 years at least now, if not more.
Yeah, more.
Yeah. So, okay, so with that said, and then LeBron, he's a 7-footer that, quote unquote, plays out of position.
Right.
Do they check each other?
Absolutely.
Really?
It's almost impossible for them not to.
Is that tonight?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because dig it. You know Golden State.
So your prediction is they're going to start out the game checking each other?
Probably not start up the game.
Sometime throughout the game.
Because Golden State likes to go with their small ball lineup where KD plays the 5.
Okay.
So.
All right.
They'll see some time against one another. Draymond will probably get a lot of that too.
Okay, you often call.
It's gonna be interesting to see. Truthfully, it's gonna be. See, this is why this is an intriguing game, or series, and this is why I wish Boogie was healthy.
Yeah, but he's not.
Because I know, but regardless, Anthony Davis is a load.
Sure.
And that's
their team as well, right? The playoff Rondo and the whole thing, the same thing that applied with all that applied. And we still don't quote unquote have Steph Curry yet because Steve Kerr says he's not going to play.
Right.
But some say.
So look at all of that.
All right. So then that brings us to then the second round series, the upstart Utah Jazz, which right?
Yeah, more look. No, they were in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, but they came out of nowhere.
But this year?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought they were lottery bound.
Matter of
fact, they were intending to be lottery bound.
Quiet as kept.
Probably well, no, they're probably not. But they probably thought they were going to get a pick out of this.
Yeah, little behind the show details. There was a couple of times in pre-show production they were doing things, and we didn't put them in the show because they were so far out of the playoff picture at one point.
Yeah.
But they quickly changed that. All right, so give me a quick prediction. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Only because. Well, okay. Now I won't ask you for a prediction unless you want to give me one. But I'll give you this. This is the time that Harden is looking for his mouthpiece. I'm going to go upset here.
Wow.
I'm going to go upset here.
Houston.
I'm going to go upset here.
To Utah.
If there are no significant injuries, Rubio is starting out. He's going to miss probably the first couple of days because they play tomorrow, and he's out for 10 days. I'm predicting upset in this series.
Wow.
Again, it's only because I predicted Harden not to go to the finals anyways. So at some point, it's got to happen. So I might be wrong on both accounts. And I'm not betting anyone. So I'll step out of the league. And as you know, I'm not great on making predictions. I'm not fond of, because you don't know what these clowns are going to do.
True story. Well, I don't have a prediction of sorts other than say, I think Houston will win it.
Well, now
but I also thought OKC would beat Utah.
Right. Now.
So.
So give me a chance. Give me a 50-50, 30-70.
I don't know. Whatever Vegas says, man.
Wow.
71, 72% or something like that.
So a little role reversal.
Whatever Vegas says.
This time I pick and you don't. Last time I didn't pick. Great. I love it.
I'm thinking Houston in 6.
Okay.
That seems about right to me. I mean, but man, I've been wrong already on them. So we'll see.
All right. So with that said, we'll go to the East.
All right.
Tell me where you want to start there.
I want to start.
Yes, the first rounds were Toronto, Washington, Cleveland, Indy, Philly, Miami, Boston, Milwaukee, which had probably tipped just now.
Well, let's do this.
Okay.
Let's because we got 2 Game 7s.
Yes.
So let's deal with the finished business and talk about the pending business.
Okay. All right. So we'll go with who finished business first then, if you want to go that way. And my little guys, had a tough battle against Miami, but handled them 4-1 style.
Yeah.
Any surprises?
Yes, I thought.
Wow.
No, it's not a big surprise, but it's
Okay.
It's just I felt like I thought Miami might have a little more fight in them than what they had, but there was pretty much a ghost of Dwayne Wade sighting.
Wow.
That kept that from being a sweep.
Yes, it was definitely a gentleman's sweep, as they call it.
Yeah,
it was a gentleman's sweep.
Dwayne Wade got his good organic juice that morning or whatever, and did his thing that one night to keep it from being a sweep. But that's the only surprise. I feel Philly is a great team, especially at this point. At this point, they're clicking on all cylinders. Embiid is back, so no surprise that they beat them. But I just felt like I thought Miami would fight them a little harder than that, and they tried to make it physical and ugly, and it didn't even work for them. So
for me, this goes way back to I never believed in Dragic when he came from Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Like, really? This is what y'all banking on? So, to me, they really don't have a superstar.
No.
So, one team has 2 superstars, and the other team has 0 superstars other than an aging superstar.
Right.
So, no, they don't have... Again, this is the playoffs where there's no back-to-backs. You got time to rest. You got time to prepare. And you're only preparing for that. Yeah, no, that went 4-1. That 4-1 didn't surprise me one bit. No, not one bit. Not one bit. So then we'll go. Okay, so then what else was over?
Well, on the other side of town, Toronto, Washington.
Yeah, they finished. They finished. As expected, right?
For me, yes.
My fault. It's Otto Porter's fault, right?
He didn't help. He was hurt.
Oh, okay. So who? I wonder who started. What, was he a starter?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's the third highest paid player.
Well, that's because of his draft position.
That's because of the re-sign.
Oh, wow. Guess you're right about that.
That man out.
Wow. I guess you're right about that. So okay, but any surprises there?
Not for me, no.
Yeah, I agree.
On paper, fairly evenly matched team, slight edge to Toronto, but
only because of cohesiveness, right?
They got a couple of guys.
Coaching.
Okay. A couple of guys that I think, you go 1 through 12. I say, they may be a player better kind of thing.
Right.
But cohesion and coaching is huge.
Right.
And, their 2 stars like each other. 2 stars in Washington don't like each other.
As I finally turn on to the championship game and Boston just ties the game, goes up 4 against Milwaukee early first quarter. But yeah, I agree. They're pretty much the same team, but slight as far as who their main guys are.
Right.
Two starting guards.
Yeah, 2 starting guards.
But
backcourt.
One team, like you say, if you break it down, 1 to 12, coaching, general manager situation, longevity, being playing together, that type of thing, you're going to give the edge to. Toronto, they won. All right.
And they're the number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then we got some unfinished business.
Earned that.
So then, all right, with that said, we got some unfinished business. Then.
Oh, yes, we do.
And as forementioned,
2 greatest words in sports. Game 7.
Yeah, we have one today and one tomorrow. And then with that said, one's playing right now, as we just talked about. Right. As we're in playoff scuffle mode already. Who you like tonight? You got Greek Freak and his cast of nobodies, basically, at this point, other than Middleton.
No. I'm sticking with what I said.
Well, and you said Boston, I think it was?
I said Boston in 7.
Wow.
So I'm sticking with that.
Okay. Would it surprise you if it didn't?
No, but I would expect Greek Freak stat line to be something like 40, 15, and 12 or something like that.
Wow, I think he just scored a bucket for the opposition, if I'm not mistaken.
So give him 2 more points.
He blocked his. Well, Greek Freak scored for Boston. He blocked his shot and then tried. Right.
Subtract 2.
Right. But so yeah, that'll be that. That's gonna be. I don't know. I'm gonna. Well.
I just believe they got some systemic things going on in Milwaukee right now, especially with their coaching situation. that's not going to be worked out in the playoffs. That's an off-season training camp kind of thing. They probably be looking to get somebody new, but I just don't think without a Superman-like effort from Giannis, I don't think they win.
Well, as you just saw him miss the layup going strong to the hole. Sometimes, and I'm not saying this is the time, sometimes a great player can trump that. But like you said, the system that they don't have, it seems like Boston has that system in reverse.
Right.
So it's going to make that kind of look like. So we'll see. All right, then tomorrow. Are you talking about get your popcorn ready, man? I may go to Garrett's Popcorn at Lenox Mall and get some popcorn for that Game 7, which sometimes can be anticlimactic, especially if the team that you want to win doesn't win, or if it's a blowout. Right. What your thoughts, real quick, then?
Cleveland, Indiana.
Yeah, and all of that entails the team that Cleveland has / doesn't have versus the team that Indiana has.
Well,
I don't know if you can take out that doesn't have. Can you? Oh, that's offensive foul.
I would love for Indy to pull this out. That would make me smile.
Sure, it would. Okay, now with that said, real quick.
But
okay,
I think it's Cleveland.
Because of the Game 7, because of LeBron.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
In Cleveland.
Right. In Cleveland.
Yeah.
The referees probably morning huddle tomorrow morning and all that.
All of that.
But sometimes, like we mentioned, talent can trump that. Okay, so now with that said, before we go and delve into, because we can't go into their second round,
right?
Because we don't know who's who, right? All right. So then, with that said, you have what we thought were you mentioned the Pelicans was somewhat of an upset, right? Or shocker to the senses.
Not a shocker that they won, just how they did.
How they won? Okay, yeah, right.
The sweet part is what got.
Okay, now Pelicans hadn't been in the playoffs in quite some time.
No, a couple of years.
Where Portland has.
Right.
You have all this is gonna okay. It's first round. Okay, Golden State, San Antonio. It could be considered out with the old, in with the new. Some say they've had a 20-year run. Some say Pop could be on his last leg. Might not work out long term. Might not. We don't say who. The OKC situation in flux. Yeah. The Utah situation stock seems to be your stock is rising. Number 2. Utah stock seems to be rising, right?
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So, the Washington, Toronto, we know about that. The Miami, Philly, young upstart Philly team, correct?
Yes.
Came out of nowhere.
Yes.
Come on, man. And then now you have a Boston team that at the beginning of the season, other than 3-4 players, you didn't know. You didn't know who Tatum was because you don't watch college. You didn't know who Rozier the third was. I mean, they got guys in the NBA that's getting cooked by this guy saying they didn't know who he is.
Yes.
So upstart Boston team, with a right.
Yeah. Brand new team.
Okay, all that to say, it's almost kind of, and then LeBron they have a potential of losing. LeBron does, right?
Yeah.
Boston, a storied playoff team, has a potential of losing tonight, right?
Yes.
And being sent home, correct?
Yes.
So basically, what I'm trying to ask you is the out with the old, in with the new, good for the NBA or bad for the NBA? Because again, if the NBA ends,
that's an easy question.
Okay, now, mind you, what Madison Avenue and the Nielsen's will tell you. If there are no known stars in those big games late in May, early June, then people aren't going to tune in.
Yeah, I can see that.
And now that's short term, could be short term vision,
right? Because
once those guys, they'll get a name for themselves because whomever they are, they're going to be on Good Morning America. Right. They're gonna talk to Brian Gumble or whomever, right? Eventually.
Eventually, yes.
So still good. So again, say if the finals came up with Utah and Philly, that's good for the NBA.
It's not good for ratings, but it's good for the NBA.
Would it be okay? So we'll say it's not good for the NBA this year, right? For the rest of the season,
pretty much
for the Raiders,
right? Like it'd be short term.
Would it be good for the Would it be good for the NBA next year and next year's Raiders?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're saying Donovan, Utah?
If you're talking about if Philly meets Utah in the finals,
yes,
which is a realistic possibility at this point, even though unlikely. But if that happens, you're talking about a lot of new faces, a lot of new stars.
We're introducing people. Utah will be on television next year with
Donovan Mitchell.
He will be there. Utah will.
Embiid and Simmons will be mega stars next year. If they were to meet in the finals, those guys will be mega stars next year.
Well, I heard a stat that a couple stats.
So that's why I say new faces is good. Like I said, it may not rate high,
right,
but it will turn out a boom for the league.
I heard a couple stats that from those two teams, just the youngest, or actually the only rookie to do a NBA triple double in the NBA's playoffs was Magic,
right.
The last one to do it,
right,
up until Ben Simmons,
right.
But from what I heard from last night's game, where your fine for the NBA, I mean, to me, you out of the world, you out of Donovan to the world that he can hoop. Donovan, he's doing things. He's putting up numbers that only Kareem has put up.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
No, that's big time stuff. I was trying to see who had the best record since the playoffs. Since the second half of the season, basically, since the All-Star break, and it's basically Houston, Utah, and Philly, and neither of those teams lost many games since the All-Star break. Some of them had multiple double-digit win streaks. I don't think Utah had a double-digit win streak.
Didn't they? I thought they had a tenner in there. So.
Yeah, that's right. They did have a tenner in there. So yes, that's what I meant to say. They did. That's what they did have. All of them had double-digit win streaks.
Yeah.
And none of those teams, well, other than Utah has a history of being in the final. I guess Phoenix had. All of them have history to be in the final, but not in the recent history.
Right.
So it's pretty good stuff. I would look. Okay, would it be good for the NBA next year if the Pelicans upset New Orleans?
You mean the Pelicans upset Golden State?
Golden State, I should say. Excuse me.
Heck yeah.
It would be good for the NBA?
Yes. Because Golden State's still going to be strong. And now a whole bunch of other people now know about Anthony Davis.
Something else to talk about.
Man. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. And okay. Now, if that happened, what would they talk about more? Would they talk about what's wrong with Golden State, or would they talk more about what's good with the Pelicans?
They talk what's wrong with Golden State.
And now with that said,
depending on how it will play out. I mean, like I said, Anthony Davis he's a megastar, but he's in New Orleans. He hasn't been winning. If he were to upset and beat Golden State, the juggernaut.
Yeah.
I mean, King James can't beat that juggernaut.
Wow.
So if Anthony Davis comes out to buy you and knocks those guys off the throne in the second round, even without Steph Curry, that's still huge. Period.
So I think when Philly was playing Miami, Embiid sat out the first 2 games, I think it was.
At least.
Yeah, he sat out the first 2 and played in 3 because they lost 2. The game 2, I should say.
Right.
They won and they lost game 2, and then I think he played game 3. But I think similar. Golden State is holding out because as I mentioned, Steve Kerr has announced that Steph Curry's not going to play game 1. I'm thinking that he's ready to go, but they're holding him out as long as they can until they catch a loss.
Yeah.
And so,
agreed.
Man, that's gonna be great. That's tomorrow afternoon, right?
Yeah, he's probably ready. If this was like a final.
No, you said that's tonight.
Yeah.
After this game 7.
Yes. It's a late game.
That's a late game. So tomorrow is the game 7, and then game 1 with Houston and Utah, correct?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, big time.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, my man.
That's big time. That's big time.
Yeah, I mean, starting from these game 7s that we got going on tonight, continue on, and then, like you say, with the that's must see TV tonight.
Yeah.
If you like basketball,
It's game 7, man.
I've talked to a couple of people though actually this week that are older guys that have said they don't appreciate this basketball, only because they got their old man get off my lawn attitude of it's not traditional what I grew up with. Sure. It's not. There's no back to the basket guy. You run a fast break and you shoot a 3-pointer more so than you take a layup or get the ball to the hole. So so some of them, couple people have said they don't appreciate that style of play, where if you can appreciate a 7-footer again that's not going to post up, because again back in my day, if you were a 7-footer you didn't post up, you were what they call on the bench. I know, but I can shoot, coach. Yeah, but we don't need that right now from you. But now you need that.
Yes,
right?
You want that. You're looking for it.
It's almost
like if you're a big and you can't shoot from outside,
that's when you're going to be on the bench.
You're in trouble. Yeah, you better be working.
But I can play defense,
shot.
coach. Yeah, but
I can play defense and rebound. I can block shots.
You don't quite get it.
You can't stretch the floor. I don't know.
Right. Clogging up the middle on us when we're on the offense and you're slow getting back. So no, the game has changed. So there's some people that don't appreciate but the game has changed. So but if you can appreciate the art that these young men are displaying. That's must see TV tonight, Golden State.
Yeah, man. I think the cool thing about where the game is now is that skill level is high. Like a lot of these guys,
Oh yeah, they can do things that are special on the basketball court.
Yeah, their footwork, the game, they're really on their craft these days. A lot of times it's about putting the team aspect together for sure. But yeah, a lot of good players out here.
Mm-hmm. So like I say, it looks as though the NBA seems to be in good hands. Yeah. It could turn out, because we're talking Cleveland and we're talking the Pelicans and that kind of thing, and it could just turn out
Golden State, Cleveland,
just like we figured from the beginning.
Par 4, man, Rocky 4, man.
Right, but
they
even
right to Russian this time.
Right, but even with that said, I think they are coming closer to the pack, or either the pack is coming closer to them, if that's not the same thing.
Oh, but it's been the arms race. We saw what happened last offseason. So teams reacted to what Golden State had done and started building up. So yeah, we saw it. And some experiments didn't go well, like the OKC power up. That didn't quite go right, but the Houston power up seems to have gone very well. So.
And see, but I unfortunately for OKC, I would say, is that situation was a trade where you traded Oladipo for Paul George,
and Sabonis,
right, and Sabonis, which both are playing very good basketball, playoff caliber basketball at this point with swagger. And again, Oladipo's playoff experience was just last year with OKC because he wasn't making the playoffs with
Orlando.
Right, correct. So, and that's what surprised me too. The poise that with these young guys, some of them, because of Cat and Wiggins went into a shell, and it's part of that could be because of their system.
Right.
But while Embiid and Simmons, rookies, really?
Close.
The way that they are rookies, but I mean, if you see them on the court, their poise and their attitude. I mean, those guys were getting smacked in the head, getting fouled repeatedly, and, in their face against veteran players, but it didn't faze them. They put 130 points on those boys game one. I mean, again, what team that lost 72 games 2 years ago has done that? I guess the answer to that would be none.
No. Trust the process, I guess.
All right, man. So with that said, I think that we got 2 game 7s to go.
Yeah.
And from there, then we can really, really, really get into that second round. But with that said, that brings us to our segment of Did You Click It? Basically, it's just a situation where we scan the internet for content, basketball, because that's what interests us, of course. And some articles prove to be a little more tantalizing than the next, to the eye and to the sensibility. We bring those to each other's attention, and we talk about them on the show. So I'll ask you about the ones that you told me that you had. Mm-hmm. You told me you had one about one Draymond Green, I think it was, sir?
Draymond Green,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
So I caught this one from the Mercury News.
Mercury News. Oh, yeah, I hear. I'm there all the time.
Yeah. Draymond Green to Chris Webber. My jewelry fits well.
Ho. Say that again. The what fits well?
My jewelry.
Like jewelry?
As in his championship ring.
Jewelry. Okay. Yes. Okay. Fits well.
Yes.
That was the headline.
That was the headline.
Okay. Did you know something about it, or to make you think that? Basically, I want to know: did you click it?
I did click it.
You did click it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you? Before you tell me about it, if you don't mind, did you know? Like, did you know what he was talking about?
I had my suspicions.
Because I don't. I mean, other than just no, I don't.
Okay, so I had my suspicions.
All right,
and they were true.
Mm-hmm.
While watching the game the other night, Chris Webber made a couple of comments. I'm gonna see if I can pull up the quote real quick.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you can kind of surmise that may have been where that part came from.
Basically, he was saying something. Hold on, let's see if I can find it because it was pretty interesting.
Well, we'll fill time by saying, all right, go ahead.
So Weber's comments in the second quarter Tuesday night's telecast.
Now, was that the game? Because they only lost one. Was that a game that Was that the game that they lost or the game that they won?
They won this.
Okay, go ahead. Weber's comments were.
So I'm actually able to watch this game. This is one of the I was.
You were in the Andes. There's not a lot of NBA TV in the Andes.
So I actually was catching this one.
Okay.
And I heard this quote, and this is what made me click it.
Okay.
Chris Webber, calling the game, says, "This is the impact Draymond Green has. Yes, if he was on other teams and expected to score, he may not be in the starting lineup on certain teams. But on this team, he's one of their most valuable players." And so I'm watching this game. I hear Chris Webber say that, and I laughed out loud because I'm like, Draymond Green wouldn't start for certain teams.
So that's basically what he was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So they asked Draymond about that in a post-game press conference, and basically that was his response. "Don't worry about it. My jewelry fits well.
I'm good where we at.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah,
I'm not even getting in jail. I'm doing fine.
Now, with that said, that kind of surprises me because Draymond seems to be a little more fiery than that quote. You know what I mean? It seems like he might, because I'll put it this way. I've heard Draymond say things to Charles Barkley when Barkley has come at him.
Yeah.
And
it's a Michigan thing. Much love.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I think
that was
that
pass homes from the same place kind of thing.
Okay.
That was my take on it.
Okay.
And I watched the clip, and it was he didn't fire up about it at all.
All right, I'll buy it.
And he like he said, his jewelry fits well. So
okay, my if my handwriting serves me correctly, you said you had one about a John Wall.
John Wall, JW.
Mm-hmm.
John Wall puts the Wizards front office on notice in Game 6 post-game press conference.
Did you click it?
Yes.
I saw a little bit about him, some articles about some things he was saying, but when you clicked it, you found out what?
That John Wall has, acknowledged that he needs to improve his game. He's going to work hard over the summer to get better. Mm-hmm. But that the organization also needs to do their part of the job and improve the team and make steps to improve the team. Mm-hmm. So it was that was pretty much it. Typical John Wall, I think.
No, I disagree with that. Because we had a long argument about John, because that's what I said. Because he was trying to blame Otto Porter.
No.
All right. Tell me where the no comes in.
He said the small forward position.
Who played?
It's a couple of people at that position.
Okay. Anyways, and what my argument, you said you agreed with that. My argument was they need to agree that everything needs to improve there.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing John Wall's saying now.
Yeah.
Me included. So not typical John Wall. A change of a John Wall, in my opinion.
All right, fair enough. But that's all that was.
Okay. All right. Then lastly, you said you had one on one member of the world champion Golden State Warriors, Kevin Durant.
KD.
Mm-hmm.
Out of NBC Sports, Dan Feldman.
Okay.
Kevin Durant. If I take another $10 million pay cut, Warriors going to start taking advantage of me.
You know, all right. Before I ask you, did you click it? I want to say, I know I saw that article, and I can't remember if I clicked it. So I'll ask you, did you click it? And hope that you did.
Yeah.
And then if you did, you can break it down to me and remind me if I read it or not.
Yeah, I clicked it.
Okay.
Definitely clicked it.
Okay. I watched Rain Man last week. But go ahead. Slow the driveway, man.
I mean, it's kind of like the title suggests. They're talking about KD and his contract situation.
Right.
Last year, he re-signed with the Warriors. He took a fairly substantial pay cut from what he could have gotten. The max, I believe, he was entitled to get or could get is $35 million. I think he took like 26, something like that, 25, in order for the team to retain Iggy,
other people,
Sean Livingston.
Sure.
I think they used that money. And
Sure.
He got Swaggy P.
Sure.
You kept the team, kept the band together. And maybe you got a new player. So once again, he's only doing these 1-year contracts. So he's up again and is being asked.
Sure. Do the same
Are
thing.
you gonna do this again?
Right.
He's like, I don't know if I can take it.
Because if I do it, they're taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, do you agree with him? Do you agree with his statement, his stance? Like, or is that or is that what I think? Everything you said from KD's standpoint, BS. And I'll tell you why I think it's BS. But what do you think? Do you think it's legit? Do you think it's
What's that?
Just KD, they're taking advantage of me if I take another pay cut and blah blah.
There's a couple of different, train of thoughts in this one.
Okay.
I mean, because the league has set it up, and this is what scared the mess out of them when LeBron James pulled his move, took less money to go to Miami, is that in order to win, it behooves you as a star player not to take the max, because you need a team around you in order to win, essentially.
Yes.
So NBA, kind of the owner set it up so that if you want to really win, you're probably going to have to take a haircut of some sort if you're a great player. Right? For a lot of times. Not always. There's obviously, your LeBron. He said, I'm never doing that. Steph just got the super max. So that's going on. But then there's also the I want it all. I'm going to get as much as I can regardless kind of mentality. The Kobe mentality, I guess. That's how he put it. Because him and Dirk were kind of on the same career thing. Where Kobe kept getting maxed out by the Lakers, but Dirk kept taking haircuts. So it's like, so that's basically where KD's at, where he's like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, because at some point I feel like they're taking advantage.
See, which is why I called the whole thing BS, because had he stayed in OKC, he would have gotten that max contract. And they were good, in my opinion, enough to win the NBA title, because they contended for the NBA title. And then him leaving, which was his choice, but he chose to do that. So, and now at this point with the team that he chose to join, he knows for sure he's going to have to do that. If that team's going to, what? You going to get all the money and forget Steph?
Steph already got paid.
I understand that. So, but what I'm saying is,
but Clay's contract coming
same
up
thing.
next
Clay
year.
was there first.
Dre's coming up the year.
He was there. He was there first. What are you gonna just say? Give me mine, and forget these guys that was part of your.
Possibly.
I don't. Do you see it happening?
Possibly.
Is he under contract or is he doing 1 year deals? You
He's
said.
doing 1 year deals right now.
So he's a free agent.
At
the end of this year?
Yes, sir. That's why it was brought up to him. What are you gonna do?
All right, real quick before we go to my things, likelihood he'll be in a Golden State uniform next year.
Likelihood?
Yes.
Highly likely.
Okay. All right. So, at whatever the cost is going to be, because if someone has if they're not going to not pay Klay Thompson.
They might.
Okay.
If they have Steph and KD under contract,
Not going to be enough. Not going to be enough.
It's a good start. It's a good start.
Not with what AD and those boys are putting up. Not what Houston's got going on. Not with what we just talked about. And that's not enough. No, sir. Because both of them stay hurt. Or no, I won't say KD stays hurt.
That's the question mark.
Even though he did get hurt this year and set out some games.
He say hurt.
So,
you said it accurately.
So, no. That is not enough. That is not enough. They're going to play Klay Thompson. And they're going to play Draymond the year after that. You're going to take another haircut, sir.
We'll see.
And you chose to do that.
Yes, he did. I mean,
you knew you went to that team with
the breaks.
Right. All right. So
we'll see.
All right.
All right. Well, that's all I have. But let's see. I know.
Well, there's some interesting ones. It's pretty good. You know, I like those.
So let's see. I know you said something about Mr. Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. I won't even say disappointed, because at some point, I kind of felt that early on in the season that they were going to be a disappointing team, and that being the OKC Thunder. I think that first round exit, what was it, 4-2?
Yeah.
Against a no-name Utah team, basically.
Yeah.
Was a bit of a disappointment, especially we talked about that. And so there was a story that said Russell Westbrook rants about Utah's disrespect after two fans' altercations in season-ending losses. Mm-hmm. And so
Did you click it?
Yeah, I ended up clicking. It was a story off of Yahoo Sports, Jesse Owens, and he was just basically Westbrook kind of took a swipe at a player, at a fan, not malicious, but he was saying on the way to the tunnel that fans were treating insane, disrespectful things, and so he just responded in that way. It was a second time that he's been in altercations with fans this year. And I don't know. I mean, I like Russ a lot. I just, if nothing else, the fact that he plays hard every night, whether or not it's the quote unquote right way. I just like that he goes hard every night.
Yes.
People are blaming a lot on Russ, rightly or wrongly. I'm going to say probably because I like Russ wrongly.
Right.
But he catches a lot of flack. And then probably more people don't like him than like him. What would you say with that?
I think more people probably like him than don't like him.
But if you're one of the fans that's the team he's opposing, you're definitely not going to like him. Right? And from a crowd standpoint,
he's a fan favorite, man.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're playing Golden State, he's not going to be a fan favorite. If you're playing Houston, that's what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm talking about. Because there was that one where, you remember with the one, did you click it, where that we brought up last couple of weeks ago, fan and Westbrook want to fight or whatever.
Right.
It was the same situation.
Right.
If you're a fan of that other team, you're way more a fan of that other team than you're a fan of the NBA and Russell Westbrook.
Right.
So,
my whole thing is, real quick on this one, is that these fans need to learn how to watch themselves, man. Just because you buy a ticket to a game doesn't mean you get to just say whatever you want to a grown man and not expect that grown man to act like a grown man. Like, it's a certain level of disrespect you just can't approach people. And fans just go too far with that sometimes.
Right. That goes back to what we talked about in the pregame production about how how much respect I give to these guys that they don't go off at every. Because some of these guys are straight hood guys. I mean, some of these guys, grew up with the piano like David Robinson.
Right.
I mean, some of these guys are straight hood guys, and they will come up in those stands. But again, I mean, they're smart enough to know that we don't need to be.
Not
We don't
the
need
best move.
Right, to lose these millions. But it could happen at
You catch somebody after they just lost the game. They
right.
red hot about that, and you talking crazy, disrespectful.
Right, which is why they don't let reporters in the room, in the locker room right after games because you got to have a cool off period.
Yeah, just because you buy a ticket doesn't mean you get to say whatever.
Yeah,
but you also had one on Melo, the teammate.
One of the most shocking headlines I've read in my time.
Juicy.
Similar to the KD.
Okay.
The headline was from the New York Post and a guy named Mark Berman. Carmelo Anthony is done making sacrifices for the Thunder.
Oh, excuse me.
WTF are they talking about? Is he talking about, sir?
Shot attempts maybe coming off the bench. I think I saw something earlier where he was talking about he's not sacrificing coming off the bench. So did you click it?
I absolutely clicked it because I need to know if I can read that French because I didn't understand it. Okay, what sacrifices? So basically, just what you're talking about.
Okay.
He lost he lost shots, he lost playing time, he lost cachet, but he still owed $28 million as we talked about, and so basically, he was the same thing like at the post game press conference. He was just saying, he was saying a lot of crazy things that the team was hastily put together. That there was no plan for the team or for him. That they didn't.
Wow.
Yes, no, it was crazy, man. Matter of fact, if I give you a quote, real quick, I don't want to be say. Okay, we're talking about was it stripped away. No, okay. Anthony said the Knicks said the trade of the Knicks on the eve of the training camp didn't give the coaching staff time to incorporate him with any smoothness. Now here's a quote from Anthony. I think the player they wanted me to be and needed me to be. Was for the sake of the season because everything was so thrown together and it wasn't anything planned out. Anthony said it wasn't no strategy. Again, I'm quoting Anthony. It wasn't no strategy to me being here, me being part of the actual system and what type of player. Mm-hmm. So he is delusional. He doesn't understand that he has no clothes on right now, as it's right. He can't play with those. Now, he's saying it's the way they use me, which is why I was ineffective.
Right.
And my eye test says there's no way that they can use you other than coming off the bench at best.
Yeah.
So that's how I saw it. See it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
I mean, they were giving him wide open jump shots.
I mean,
they were clanking off the rim.
Yeah.
So kind of shocking.
Wow.
All right.
Shout out Melo. Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he's guaranteed $28 million, so
half on the middle.
No luck needed. Now he could be traded, or now I wonder if that no trade contract comes along. But in that questionnaire, not so much questionnaire, but the reporter's questions of him, he was intimating that. Well, let's tell you what he said, and ask if he'll be back to OKC. There's just some things that we have to evaluate. There's some things we have to kind of step away from the game right now. Right. There's just some things as a team, as individuals, as an organization, we have to evaluate and how we want to improve moving forward. I think everybody has their own decision to make. He continues. We talk, we communicate. I think that's the beauty of having a friendship and a relationship that we all have. So he's not saying, no, I ain't going nowhere like he was saying when he was with New York.
Right.
Like, he was on New York. You say what you want.
Right.
I ain't going nowhere. But he's not saying that. All right, so that's what he said.
All right. Wow, good click it.
Mm-hmm.
How about one more? 76ers. What's up with your boys, your little guys?
All right. Same thing in the pregame production. I asked you about the rust versus the rest.
Right.
They were one of the, if not the first team to clinch.
Yeah, I think they were number one, weren't they?
Or San Antonio was pretty close. I mean, Golden State was pretty close too. So it was Philly, right?
I thought so. Who was that got swept? Nope.
No, that's right. Pelicans were the first team.
But I think.
Well, either way, one of the first teams.
I think with the way the schedule, yeah.
Either way, one of the first teams this week. And so, and they still don't know at this moment, at our taping, 9 p.m. on Saturday the 28th, who they're going to be playing.
Right.
And so I asked you, rest, because, at this point, they don't really have anyone that's injured. They definitely don't have anyone that's old that would need rest. Right. Would the rust aspect be, and you seem to think that no. And so the article was, let's see, I'm sorry, Sixers, okay. The article was from the Philadelphia Inquirer, if I'm not mistaken, and it was Sixers growing restless, waiting for Bucks/Celtics winner in NBA playoffs.
Of course, did you click it?
Yes, absolutely. A guy, staff writer Kevin Pompey from the Inquirer. So I clicked it, and basically it was just asking the same question. Mm-hmm. And Brett Brown was kind of shooting it down only by saying that he recognizes that it could be an issue. Mm-hmm. But he was keeping practices pretty intense with some 5-on-5 scrimmages and some other drills that were going to keep them their basketball IQs and sensibilities
sure.
and abilities, physical abilities, in tune as best you can, because you can't simulate practice in a game is going to be unless you're scrimmaging, which was part of what he said. Right, because you're not going to whack your boy in the head in practice.
That's right.
Too often. Every now and then you might, because you don't like the guy. But then when they asked one of the players, Ben Simmons, he was saying that he's kind of antsy and ready to play. But he says, I think quoting Ben Simmons, I think everybody's a bit antsy. Ben Simmons said, "I'm fine. I just feel like whoever we'll play, we're going to be ready for the matchup." So we talked about it. Idle mind, idle time, uncertainty of who you're gonna play, who can you prepare for. You know what I'm saying? We'll see if they come out rusty. I hope not, for their sake, because they are my little guys.
Yeah.
So, but
it's
whoever
possible, but I mean, we're talking one game.
But
I know game one's important and all. And I could see them losing it because it's on the road. No,
might not be on the road if they played Milwaukee.
Correction.
Right? Now, at this point, Milwaukee's down 8 at the half.
Gotcha.
But it may not be. It's not. There's no guarantee that it's on the road.
There we go. So, I retained my comment for a minute. But I just feel like even if they do lose it, I just feel like they're probably a better team than either one of these teams that's remaining.
I tend to agree with you, other than the caveat, I'm scared as heck of Boston, man. And I mean, both of those two guys I've been saying all year long, or most of the year anyways, Brett Brown and Stevenson, if they're not the coach of the year, who is? Either both of them or one of them.
Right. Right.
And then the amount of juice that Brad Stevenson was able to squeeze, or is still squeezing, out of the oranges lemons that are the Boston Celtics,
right,
is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, he's squeezing seeds. He's squeezing seeds, dude, with the neophytes that he has from Jason Tatum, right, giving him production in the playoffs, right, Rozier, right, giving him... he's squeezing seeds at this point.
He's making it happen at this point.
That's my point. So... I would love because it's gonna be great, man.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
NBA action is fantastic.
Yeah, they turned it up. They turned it up, and I am happy about it for it because of it.
Yes.
And matter of fact, there's one more thing. Not so much one more thing, but one more thing I meant to mention about the round two. There's also another backstory with the Pelicans Golden State game, in that some say part of the Warriors' early success a couple of years ago was attributed to the coach that is now coaching the Pelicans.
Who's coaching out there? Is Alvin Gentry?
That is exactly Alvin Gentry. Yes, he was on their bench.
He was.
As a coach,
he was.
I've heard people in the NBA circles, because I remember last year, which was his first year with them, saying right, that he was the origin. If I'm not mistaken, he was the originator or some part orchestrator of that offense that they had. Yeah. And then they were saying that because when I heard this, what made me think of this was last year, that was a guard-oriented.
Right. And he had big.
He had bigs.
Yeah.
Or a big last year, which was Anthony Davis. He
Right.
didn't have both the bigs, but he had a big. He might have had I don't know. But anyways, I know he didn't have Boogie, but he had Anthony Davis. And so they didn't even make the playoffs last year, right?
Nah.
Didn't even sniff it. And so, well,
it was a solid sniff, but it was a sniff.
They didn't make it.
No, they didn't.
But so I heard him say earlier in the playoffs that he just wanted to go further than Steve Kerr.
All right.
So
here's his chance.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Control your destiny.
All right, man. Well, that wraps it up for the first round, almost, because we still have 1.5 games left.
Yeah.
Of the Doc and GM show. Doc, remind the people, please, sir, where they can find us.
Find us on YouTube. Doc and GM NBA recap.
And that's DOCANDGM.
Yes.
And I think
subscribe.
you can have a recap. Yes,
Just
listen.
subscribe. You don't even have to worry about spelling it.
Wow. There you go. There you
It'll
go.
pop up.
All right. So we're out, man.
Yeah.
Till next week.
All right. Have a good one.
I think that was well done, sir.